Okay, welcome back, class. We'll be continuing where we left, and we'll discuss further types of research. So these are, types of research design which are very much by the name it might be clear for you. Like these are quantitative research, which is based on some kind of quantitative methods, and which is numeric in nature, and it can provide kind of a numerical evidence which we can maybe find out by through statistics or some kind of a mathematical help. So that is a quantitative research, and it can be represented in form of graphs and everything, anything uh, related to numeric or which is measurable or scalable. So uh, this type of a design by data type. And similarly, the other one is a qualitative research in which you use descriptives in the form of words to describe a situation. It can be exploratory and descriptives, and it can investigate how certain things happen. So, depending upon the type of your phenomena, you might opt for quantitative or qualitative research. But what usually happens in research is that in social science, especially, because qualitative is an also very integral part of research. So usually a mixed methods approach is used to achieve your objective. So most of the time, I would say a majority of the time, it is a mixed method research because maybe you are assessing a phenomenon that might be quantitative, that might be qualitative, and sometimes you are going for the interviews, let's say questionnaire surveys or household survey. Then you opt for maybe some of the question will be can be written as in form of quantity, and some of the questions like interview questions or the open-ended questions that might be analyzed through qualitative. So depending on the data type, you might employ quantitative, qualitative, or a mixed method approach. So in qualitative, you need to sometimes have kind of use a qualitative data as an input, then maybe make some codes and kind of make a thematic analysis. So that really helps you out. And of course, they are contrarily to the belief that qualitative cannot be quantified. That is also not true. And saying that qualitative analysis is very difficult to work. Qualitative analysis is not analysis, especially from people with engineering background. They are very much, you can say, they emphasize a lot that uh, qualitative research is not that important. But let me tell you that in urban planning or in social sciences, qualitative is a very important part. So qualitative also go hand in hand in there in social science research. So in a mathematical research, you might employ or you might find some kind of a qualitative indicator in which you need to be quantifying it based on a scale. So making some kind of a qualitative terminology and maybe quantifying it can be a kind of a mixed method research in which you are applying both. So qualitative decision can be through focus group discussion. Now there can be different types of methods already there. And again, if you want, I don't want to go into the detail, and we'll discuss these in the coming lectures. So these are some of the methods in which we can have an argumentative or qualitative data discussion in which we can find out we can resolve or identify the same, we can achieve your objective basically. Okay. Then is your use. What kind of research are you? Is it a fundamental or a basic research, right? Are you generalizing like kind of induction or reduction theory? Are you generalizing something? Are you trying to revisit the basics of a concepts? You're trying to get the facts that are they still valid or not? So that is a kind of a basic research, and it is sometimes called academic or pure research as well. You need to expand or advance basically general knowledge and maybe revisit some universal principle which has already been identified, and you want to recheck it. So that's part of a basic research. And sometimes you need to develop a new theory. So Okay, is it developing a new theory or generalizing? Is it induction or deduction? We have talked about inductive and deductive approaches to research. So generalizing it, is it inductive or deductive? I think I need to have a quiz soon now. Yes, Hamza?
सर डिडक्टिव होनी चाहिए.
होनी
I
चाहिए.
mean it.
Good answer. Good answer. Okay. I will plan for a quiz soon. Okay. Then is the applied research in which you test that theory on a certain area. You apply a theory on ground. So that is your kind of empirical research. You are applying that research. So it's an applied research. Uh, and that can be now these applied or basic research. It can have aspects of explanatory, exploratory research. So these types, they are overlapping with each other. Like I am doing a causal relationship, let's say explanatory research, and I'm doing applied research as well at the same time. And also I am using quantitative methods. So quantitative data design, I'm also using at the same time. So these designs are not separate. These are overlapping. These types are over. Most of the time, these are overlapping. So let me be clear that it's not like you won't be using only one kind of research, or might be using a mixed method, kind of a pure research as well and kind of an applied research as well. So understanding a specific problem or further development a policy program to resolve that problem. So that is an applied research, which you can actually have some kind of practical implications of that research. Some practices can be, you can find out and you can, let's say, these people or community needs training regarding this phenomena that impacts. To reduce this impact, we need to do this. So that is an applied research. And most of the time, applied research is very much common in social sciences or in urban planning at least. And basic science is just we are discussing about new theory and how it is important and how it can be done. But applied research is basically we are actually using it on the ground. Again, some parameters or characteristics of these research is that basic is scientific discovery, and applied is basically using that kind of research on the ground. Motivation, curiosity, and solving problem. And easy to is does it work to understand or to come with solutions. This is another approach. So you might now have some overlapping with your descriptive, your exploratory, and explanatory research. By time. So by time you have two types in which your research can either be a cross-sectional at a particular time period, in a particular time period at a particular time. So that is a cross-sectional research, and then is the longitudinal research, which is being done over a period of certain time. So maybe 5-year study, so 5-year research. But as you're in postgraduate student, so longitudinal study, which takes a long time, 5-10 years, that's very much difficult for you to do. So most of the students, or well, I would say all of the students would be using cross-sectional study, in which you'll be analyzing a phenomena in a certain area at a certain time and correcting that at the same time period. So that is would be your cross-sectional study. And longitudinal studies, well, mostly they are more related to the medical sciences because they have to check or like impact of a particular medicine over time period. So longitudinal is very much, unless and until you are like in urban planning, sometimes what you can do is you can see that evolution of development status, development in Pakistan, that how many, let's say, let's say infrastructure development in an area, how many people have gas or electricity or something, and over the time period how much people have gotten how much things. So over the time period, maybe 5 years ago this was the status, 10 years back this is the status. So government of Pakistan, like when Bureau of Statistics, they issue or publish reports uh, of development statistics every year. So maybe you can collect the data over the past 10 years, and then you can have a kind of a longitudinal study that what was the current situation in this area and how over some time period it has evolved into something different. So cross-sectional is at one point of time. It's very simple and easy to do and not costly. And but you need to collect all the data at one time. So you cannot go again and again to collect the data. So be sure in cross-sectional research that you are very much clear what sort of data you need, how to collect it. So you have to be sure about it. You cannot go in the field again and again. And for example, one of these is this census. It is at a particular time. Longer, more than one long interval, maybe 10 years, 20 years. So depending upon the type of the study, it might even go longer than that. It is again complex, costly, long period of time, and sometimes broken into different time periods. It's also called time series, panel, or cohort. So depending upon different types, already there are subtypes of longitudinal studies. Okay, let's see. Okay, now is this a cross-sectional study or a longitudinal study? Anyone? Is it longitudinal or a cross-sectional? Yes, Ahid.
Sir, longitudinal.
Yes, thank you. Perfect. That is a longitudinal study. So over some particular time period, I have to collect the data and then plot it on the map or the graph. So if we have, let's say, data of 2015, I'm comparing Multan, Gujranwala, Rawalpindi, and Faisalabad and Lahore only in the year of 2015. Like I would say, only this part. So if I'm doing this part, okay, so only comparing all these 5 years, the status of population in these 5 in a particular year, then that will be a cross-section study. Okay, then is your design, experiment by design, like how much control you have on it. Okay, so like most of the time it's quasi-experiment in which we let the natural, what is happening in the world, we are saying that, okay, that is nothing, we are not limiting, let's say, in the experiment or the instrument, we are keeping it open. We are just collecting the data as it is. We are not doing any kind of control in a controlled environment. So we are like you're doing survey in an area. So that is a type of an in natural setting. You're not limiting yourself to anything. So that is quasi-experimental design, and it is very much common in urban planning. And what is which we have a control? This is the experiment design in which we have a certain environment. For example, laboratory. We have certain chemicals. We have some certain temperature. We can maintain it. So we are controlling the experiment. So that is experiment design. So two types: this quasi-experiment design and the experiment design. But as an urban planner, we are doing. If you're doing a survey in the community, we cannot limit ourselves to the time, like in the morning, in the evening, or we are not limiting ourselves to that we are doing, let's say, a research study on heat wave. So we are not going to be setting the temperature that, okay, 35-degree temperature today, okay, today I will do question. No. So if you're doing that, then that is experiment design. If you're not doing it, you're doing it, everything is natural according to time, regardless of any indicator, you're not limiting, controlling the experiment itself. So that is called quasi-experimental design. So this now gives you an, these are some other names of some other types of experiment research design. Now these, most of them have overlaps with the research I've already described. So, but these kind of research, these terminologies you might be seeing in the future. So don't get confused with that. So these are some of the names of research design which people use, but I've just categorized or classified some of the common types of research design. So depending upon like your design, this study you need, for example, let's say I'm talking about cohort study. So okay, as the name implies that you need to know about that, maybe you have to set certain cohorts or certain groups and then identify or compare within these groups. So this type of research I'm going to be doing it. So that is a cohort study. So depending upon your purpose, these are some of the other names of the research design, but I have already gone through some of the common ones. Yes. So any question till now? Ask any question regarding any research design.